No Game, No Life. Chapter 4. Part 1. 1 divided by 2 equals helpless. The ghosts, scattered throughout the world, had been quietly orchestrating the war from behind the scenes for close to a year. Today, sitting in their hideout and playing chess across the table from Shui, Riku once more studied the strategy board.
Just as expected.
Elf had brought Fairy to their side. They'd increased their contacts with Dragonians who can combat Dwarf's airships, uniting against the common hypothetical enemy of Dwarf with an Elven alliance. Meanwhile, Dwarf had built on their healthy relationship with Gigant by bringing a number of phantasms to their side. Certain ghostly whisperings that the elves had created a phantasm killer had resulted in the explosive birth of a rock-solid Dwarven alliance. But there was no forgetting the most powerful force of all, over on the next continent, which included the Flugel, the camp of Artosh. With these two alliances concealing their own weapons of mass destruction, even his mighty lordship Artosh, hand clenched and shaking furiously behind his back, could not afford to make any hasty moves against either of these unions, and the front ground to a standstill. Demonia relocated to profit from the struggle that kept the big players busy, while Werebeast, wary of the E-bomb, moved to the archipelago to the west. The world was on a hair trigger, bracing for Armageddon with nothing left for the combatants to do but stare one another down. This was the state of the board that our smart little ridiculous bozos had worked so hard to construct. The continent of Lucia, comically, had left humanity home alone for the first time. The setup was perfect, the plot ripe for a once-in-a-lifetime showdown. All that was left was the endgame. Hey, Shui, I asked you before if there was a god of games, right? Huh? You said a concept becomes an old deus when the activation conditions are satisfied. What activation conditions? Acquisition of ether. Strength of feelings, prayers. Cannot produce strict definition. Flow? When he asked before, she'd said there was no ether and therefore no such god, but... Well, actually, if I said I've seen the god of games, would you believe me? What you believe, I'll believe. Moving a piece with a serious expression, Shui continued. Riku, you overturn all my projections. If you say there is one, then there is. If you say the sky isn't red, it's not red. I won't give it a second thought. Ah, damn. Whoa, make sure you share that line with somebody. My wife is so into me. That aside. Her face looked slightly flushed, but it wasn't just his imagination. Shui announced timidly. Checkmate. Come on, god of games. Let me win at least once. Shui gave a little smile as Riku, grinning, tore at his hair. Pardon the interruption while you're having a conversation more embarrassing to listen than to have. But do you mind? Asked Korin, diffidently popping in. Oh, great timing, Korin, said Riku. Wait. Did you... Yeah. Thanks for the yums. But aren't you the one who called me here? Can I make my report now? Corn flipped through her papers on the state of the village. No, of humanity. And began. I can't believe it. But just like you said, there haven't been any more sightings of other races. Corn, ignorant of the reason, furrowed her brow at Riku as he laughed, as if to say, Shocking, and went on. And so we lit beacons and sent out scouts and found a number of villages in the northern part of Lucia. It won't be easy to integrate them, since their combined population totals almost 8,000. With the village, relax, Koran. Pretty soon, we'll be able to live wherever we want without fearing death. Korn's fist trembled at Riku's flippant response, his attention seemingly more focused on his chess match with Shui. Everything is going fine. Shui and I just have to pull off the last move. And we win. Come on. Stop joking around, Riku. Do you realize the shape you're in? Korn had been struggling to bear her feelings without showing them, but Riku's attitude pushed her beyond her limit. I can't believe you're still alive in that state. If you make a long trip like that, you're gonna die. Despite Korn's tearful outburst, Riku grinned. I ain't gonna die. I still gotta live another 891 years. Look, Riku, I'm begging you. Quit fooling around and take a good hard look at yourself. Given his big sister's heartfelt plea, Riku had no choice but to concede and do a self-inventory. First, he was covered in bandages. The burns on his skin from the dead spirits had never healed after all. His entire body's skin was contaminated, but it was what it was. Then there were his internal organs. Shui'd saved them from necrosis, just barely. They were all right, more or less. He'd never been able to take what one would think of as a meal since then, but he could handle soup at least. The dead spirits had gotten into his blood a little bit, so there was some damage to his bones and respiratory tract, but it wasn't too bad. Otherwise, I'm down one arm, and my vision's been impaired. Well, I guess I'm blind in one eye. No big deal. It's a hell of a big deal. The other ghosts are like this, or worse. Korn started to argue, but Riku's icy voice stopped her short. It's a miracle that no one's died, but we've all been beaten to a pulp. To a pulp? Literally, just as he said, they'd been beaten to a pulp. It was true that not a single crew member of the ghost ship, 179 strong, had died. Yet, it was just a question of yet. Guzzling poison, contamination by spirits, lost limbs. The ghosts cooked up any means they could to deceive the other races. From tossing away a left arm for the sake of one trick, to eating the flesh of a corpse to hoodwink a demonia, to willfully submitting to a dampier to lead them on. It exploited every asset at their disposal. Every one but their lives. So Riku pleaded. Just one more move, Koran. Look the other way. Then the war will end, and I'll finally be able to forgive myself. Is what he started to say, but he swallowed it. In that case, at least tell me. Korn looked down, shaking. I still can't believe you manipulated the other races, even the old day, to get them all off Lucia. I do think it's amazing, but end the war? Even after all that, I still can't believe this. If you want me to look the other way, then tell me. Or do you not trust me? Your own sister? As Riku and Shui exchanged glances, Korn's heartbroken tears stained the ground one after another. Koran, if I didn't trust you, if it wasn't you, there's no one I could entrust with everyone. Then why... You know, right? What the gods are fighting over? Thrown for a moment by Riku's sudden change of subject, Korn answered. The throne of the one true God, isn't it? They say... Yes, the throne of the one true God. Specifically, an artifact called the Suniaster, apparently. Relating to what Shui had told him in the ruins of the Elven City, Riku stood. Old Day are born of the planet. By wishes or by prayers, they obtained ether and were born. That's what Shui had told him. But too many were born. The Suniaster is a conceptual device instituted by the Old Day in order to determine a single god, a single being with magical power on a level capable of creating races. But for the Old Day to create a device able to encompass the power of all the Old Day is impossible, right? Well, yeah, 'cause that... Though this was her first time hearing all of this, Korn understood immediately and bluntly broke it down. Would mean using the power of 10 to create the power of 11, right? I knew it, Koran. You got it right. Yes, it's a story so asinine one can only marvel. It should have been self-evident. One true God would rule over everything, including the Old Day. If you suppose that there were 10 Old Day who pooled all their power, it would only equal 10. But the Suniaster, who was supposed to produce power that would bring all 10 to heal, but it was fundamentally insufficient. It was impossible. So, here's what you can do. His eyes alight with a notion unfathomably facetious, Riku spouted out. If there are 10 gods, you just kill 9, which leaves you the one true God, right? Yes. Summarizing what Shui had told him that day boiled down to this. They destroy the ether of all the other Old Day and absorb the power generated. In this way, they'd boost their own strength to obtain the power necessary to manifest the Suniaster. But as it happened, there were as many Old Day as there were wishes. Even if you slaughtered the big guys, you'd still have to worry about some upstarts surpassing you. So if you just conquered the throne of the one true God, the Suniaster, there you were, the only God. That's the truth behind this ridiculous great war. That's idiotic. You're saying that's why we've endured this whole war? Korn shook with rage, shouting as if spitting in his eye. Koran, watch your mouth. That's an insult to all idiots. 'Cause, you know... Speaking languidly, Riku touched the map board and said disgustedly, you can manifest the Suniaster even without any of that. Huh? Ignoring Korn's blank look, Riku toyed with the Black King in his palm. Hey, Koran, did I mention what gives birth to the Old Day? The planet, right? Yes, the spirited corridors. The source of all things. The stream of all life. The planet itself. Shui picked up where he left off. They're creations. The races are also created through the old days ether, through spirit corridors. Yeah, so you know? With a sigh, Riku came back to the same thought he'd had that day, the day he'd heard the story in the oven ruins. What had occurred to him before anything else, when Shui had told him the cause of the god's strife and the story of the Suniaster. How could no one have noticed something this obvious? He uttered a conclusion so self-evident it had surpassed even Shui. All the old day on the planet in total couldn't be as powerful as their source if you give it any thought. Korn's eyes opened wide. So, Black King in hand, Riku turned the map, the board, and put it right in the middle. With that, he bluntly announced their ghosts' victory conditions. That is, their final move. If you destroy the planet, the Suniaster will manifest itself. Ignoring Korn's stupefaction, Riku and Shui pointed to the floor and continued. If you pierce the core of the planet, the source of the spirit corridors, the power discharged will surpass that of all the old days. The manifestation will occur in 10 seconds. Destruction, power, discharge, manifestation, and then, right there, we seize the Suniaster and rebuild the world. Riku and Shui announced simultaneously to the still dumbfounded Korn. Checkmate. But that... Where are you going to get the power to impale? By the time Korn had recovered enough from her trance to stammer this, the strategic map on the wall jumped out at her. It couldn't be. It couldn't be. It couldn't be. It couldn't be. You're going to make them do it themselves? You're not aiming for a deadlock, but an all-out collusion of all the factions? Riku gave a giddy, thin smile at Korn's shriek. Artosh's camp and the Unions aren't deadlocked. Huh? Mutually assured destruction. A deadlock based on the assurance of the destruction of both parties if one made a move. Only worked when there was an option not to make a move. Their objective is the Suniaster, is death. So the spark's gonna go off no matter what. It meant a battle of a scale never seen before in the Eternal Great War. It meant Armageddon. As Korn blanched at the image, Riku spoke. But the firepower won't be aimed at anyone. Once more, Korn was at a loss for words. On the stage we've designated for the final battle, Shui and I are installing wedge, devices that will bend the orientation of the blast so all the force will point straight down. Yes, just like a telescope lens. According to all the information they had gathered on the weapons that would be used in this confrontation, which the ghost had staked everything but their lives to collect, as quantified and number crunched by Shui, the number of wedge they need to achieve convergence was 32. The goons will pierce the planet themselves. The spirit corridors will be destroyed. The Suniaster will manifest itself, and once we snatch it, we win. And one of the main reasons no one's gonna die is because, when it's all over, I have something I want to ask those gods. Riku's face beamed with an enormously ironic smile. One might even call it sadistic. Hey, hey, how's it feel? You know? For real. The eternal Great War was coming to a close. For real. At the hands of Riku and Shui, her wonderful brother and sister, and fewer than 200 others. Moreover, it would be accomplished without killing anyone. To do that, just creating the situation. He could have wanted to slaughter the gods and their creations. No, if he was normal, he must have wanted to. Her brother had lost his skin, his viscera, an eye, an arm. Despite all that, he still smiled impudently. Korn shivered. To end the war without killing anyone. To accomplish that, he'd done all this. So, Korn, please, look the other way just a little longer, and take care of everyone. But even as Riku grinned boldly, it was already becoming painful for him to breathe, though only Shui noticed. Riku, go to sleep. I can't. We've got to go install the umbrage right away. Shui nursed Riku as he squirmed on the bed, but Riku had put on a brave face for Koron. Everything she'd said had been true. The spiritual burn spreading across his skin from the dead spirits alone would invite significant long-term health problems. As if that wasn't enough, having taken them into his organs, Riku couldn't absorb nutrients adequately. No human could be expected to recover from that. That he'd survived at all was abnormal. It's all right. Your projections are never wrong. The attacks won't start right away. But you can rest a little. You can do it. Just a day.
My wife is crazy calm as usual.
Riku chuckled to himself, but I guess. Then we'll go install them tomorrow. And today I'll concentrate on getting better. Hey, Shui. Sorry for always dragging you down. You're lying down. You can't drag me. Riku let out a laugh, but even that sent pain searing through his body. Then, let me ask you one more thing. Today I'm going to sleep and work on recovering. So can you hold my hand? She understood the request was intended to help him bear the pain. At the same time, Shui now understood that he was warning her not to try going by herself. I'll stay, holding your hand. Don't worry. Rest, Riku. Hey, Shui. Presumably unable to sleep, Riku spoke up again. Thank you. I'd never have been able to do this without you. It's not over yet. That's true. But I've never even have been able to make it this far without you. So, Riku closed his eyes. Thank you for coming for me. And also, as if he was dozing off, Riku's breath softened as he mumbled, I really love you. And I always will. Just what agonies had the corrosion of Riku's spirit ravaged him with? Despite them, Shui's hand holding his was enough to allow his breath to descend into the peaceful solace of sleep. Shui sat, thinking to herself. She liked Riku, but her definition of the feeling known as love was still incomplete. It was deeply frustrating to her not to be able to answer his words. Even so, she knew what she had to do. She couldn't let Riku die. Riku had to live another 891 years. If he got the Suniaster, that could be reality. So, I'm sorry, Riku. I'll be right back. For now, she let go of his hand. 24 installed. Another 8 Umweg stations and it would be done. Chui once more came to the same conclusion. She'd been right not to bring Riku. She was operating covertly on the side of the final battle, where the greatest forces in the world were currently arrayed. She had detected opponents on several occasions already who would end the game if they caught her, and each time, she'd done everything in her power to hide. Be that as it may, if they by some chance noticed, Riku's presence would have increased the probability of instantaneous death significantly. It's all right. I just have to install 8 more, and I'll come back. Riku, wait for me. Once that was over, she was prepared to endure however much scolding came of it. She couldn't let Riku die. 8 more. Finding next coordinates. Oh my! I was just drifting about, and such an unexpected find presents itself in my feet. Chui turned to the voice suddenly above her. Prismatic hair and amber eyes. Wings woven of light and the signature of Flugel. Geometric halo.
Referencing data.
Chui suppressed the voice in her heart, saying this could not be worse, and looked at the Flugel's serene face. Good day, Scrap Heap. Have you decided to take a walk by yourself today? Flugel. Close number, Jabril.